Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Liz and I'm an artist. Recently, I participated in my first artist market or maker market, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about things I did to prepare, things I wish I did differently, and just like overall what I learned from that experience. Just like most things you learn by doing and just participating in, and then you get better and you have some hindsight of how things work in different events and spaces like that. So I guess first things first, what I did, what I applied, it was a free application. It was just like submit, I want to say 3 images of your work. And it said, what is your price range? If you have like a business name, what's your business name, your URL. So for my price range, I had things priced from $3 to, I said $3 to $100 because I didn't know what my pricing would be like yet, but that was around where I wanted my pricing to be, considering what prints I had already completed or planned on completing. So I submitted that, and I fully didn't expect to hear back anything. Honestly, I was like, they're not gonna want my stuff. Like, why would they accept me? I've never sold out the market before. And they did. They got back to me like before their deadline, which was nice because there was like a hard deadline where it's like they're not accepting any more applications for the event, and then you'd hear back post that date. But I heard back like 2 weeks before, and then I was like, okay, now I really have to get on my grind and like figure out what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna make this work, since I was accepted at that point. So I did already have some prints that I completed earlier in the summer, that were things that I've just been working on post grad school, and just kind of like all these old backlog drawings and prints that I have envisioned on doing. So that was like kind of easy to like have some inventory to start out with because I already had editions of prints and been making stuff pre the acceptance. And then after, I was like, okay, now I need to make a range of things or make smaller things, because I have things that range from large, like 18 by 22, which is this big print here, and little pepper feet. Oh, sorry, girl. And then she's gonna jump. No? Okay. Oh, there she goes. And then I had some sizes like 10 by 10, 8.5 by 11. So I had a range of sizes, but I wanted some smaller things, some small kind of postcard size. And then I designed some stickers that I had printed. So it was like just a range and variety of things, which I think helps. So then after I got accepted and I started working on prints, I had to start thinking about what are things that I need to invest in or purchase to show and display my work. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible because I think one of the hardest things about doing things is the unknown. And it's like you look for inspiration on Pinterest or other artists and other people that are selling their products, and you're like, oh my gosh, their displays are so beautiful and everything is like really curated, and they have like very specific shelving or like bins and things that you're like, oh my gosh, like those would be perfect. And then you start looking into them and you're like, upfront costs, like I shouldn't have to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this, which is fine. You do not have to. If you have the means and you want to have a beautiful display up front, do it. But honestly, I think starting simple is the best. And then from there, you can grow your collection if it's even something you like to do, because like you might not even like vending at places. Unless you try it, you will literally just like have no idea that you're like, actually, I hated that. I hated every part of that. I don't want a customer service and sit there and talk to random people all day. Starting simple, and then like for things I did for display, I'll put like a little image here of what my display looked like. Here's a few seconds of that. I just had a 6-foot table that I borrowed. Because that was like the sizes that they wanted. They even had an option for first come, first serve. They would provide you with a 6-foot folding table, which is like that's what I was like, if you have them, please let me borrow one so I don't have to invest in a 6-foot folding table, because those were surprisingly more expensive than I thought. They were like $50 plus, depending on where you got it. And I was like, I'm just trying to get started. So that was like helpful that I didn't borrow one from there, but there was another one that I was able to borrow from. And then so I needed a table. And then for my setup, I just got 2 bins that I have here, because I wanted to show all the things that I purchased. I had 2 bins. I used this bin, and I had a bigger bin that I got, same color, bigger, that I got at Michael's, literally under $10. I want to say they were on sale. I want to say they were like half off. Like something was going on, and I was like, I think I spent maybe $5 on both of these. I was like, I'm just going to get them, even if I don't use them for the display. It's like a cute color that I was like, okay, I think it'd look fine on a table. And then I'm like, I will use this regardless, It looks like a nice pin for everyday things. But I did use the small one. The big one, I didn't. I used it underneath the table for storage. And then I also purchased just like a black fitted tablecloth for the table, because the one I was borrowing was from the print lab, and it is like an art school folding table. It's got little drawings and doodles and cut marks in it and paint everywhere. So it's like, it was a little used and loved, and it was just like a little grubby, but that's fine. It was $3. But I also I spent $6 on acrylic stands, just like, it came with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And they have plastic on them. I didn't take it off because I was like, honestly, like, it doesn't really matter. I just put a price tag over top of it, like a little sticker, but they're like all peeling off. I thought these were fine because I'm thinking of like prints and like displaying, and I was like, I could stick multiple in there and it's fine. And then it'll be cute. So all in all, what I spent money on for this free event that I never had a setup for, I never had anything for. So I'm just like, the only things that I did spend money on were the 2 bins that I got, the little plastic stands, and that right there is probably like $10 worth of things. For pricing, I just got like the most simplest thing I could, just like cheap. I want to say I spent like $3 on little just like circle white dots that were for stickers, and then it's in this thing, but a tablecloth. And then the last thing that I think was probably the most expensive that I spent money on was plastic sleeving for my prints. But other than that, that was all I spent, was 2 bins, acrylic stands, price stickers, tablecloth, plastic sleeves. Other than that, I literally didn't spend money on like more shelving, lots of things for display. I just kind of put things in piles and then organized one set of prints in one of the plastic bins, and then I just laid things on the table in piles, which I thought looked really nice, and just stacked the additions, and I think that was helpful for it. I did buy something else that I didn't use, but I fully anticipated on making. I feel like you've probably seen them. If not, I will try to explain the best I can about what I wanted to do. I went to Michael's and bought, I think this was like $3 worth of supplies. I bought 2. See, I didn't even take it out of the plastic, but I still fully intend on using these. But I think if I would have had them to begin with, I could have elevated my table just a little bit. Cheap craft wood in this section. I bought 2 of those, and then I bought dowel rods that I was like, if I just cut these, which I did start cutting them uneven, I might add. One is like, you can see that, terrible. I think that's why I stopped. One's really long and one's really short. So I started cutting these to then just like hot glue, just down the board, doubles, 2 like people use like dish drying racks. And then I feel like there is like print displays that, you know, they're just the dowel rods, and sometimes they're not even a board. They're like two lines of wood with like a space in the middle, and then like the little dowel rods coming out of it. So then you can just feed the prints through the dowel rods, just kind of poked through. I'll draw you a picture because I feel like that will help explain my process. And I feel like most people are going to know what I'm talking about. If you're not an art person, maybe not, but even then, here's the vision. It's just beautiful. Once it focuses. Okay, so here is my poor sketch of what I was going to do with the wood. It was going to be one wood and then doubles of dowel rods cut, so that when I had the prints, they'd be like, and then they'd be laying, if that helps. Maybe you already knew what I was talking about and I'm just hanging out. But anyway, I still fully intend on doing this because I think it would be, if I do it again, it will help with print display. So that was set up and like getting things ready. So I kept making prints that I liked. I wanted to have a range of sizes of prints. So I had large prints. I had this print that's 18 by 22 inches. And then I had two prints that are 14 by 17. So I used the same, I bought 4 different sizes of plastic. I bought plastic that's big enough to fit this big print, 18 by 22. And then I also used that same, I think I had 100 sheets. And I used the same for this print. It's upside down. And then this green one as well. This is right side up. Bang. And I just folded over the extra, put a business card in there. My business cards, I've had them for years. It's an old print that I made in undergrad as the background. And then on the other side, it just says my name, my QR code for my website, and then my email and my website on there. But anyway, so I used the same size plastic for 3 prints. So that was like really helpful in getting things done for that. And then I got, I want to say it was 9 by 12 because I had 80 10 by 10 prints. I have an edition of 80 10 by 10 prints. And then those are these ones. Again, just folded over. I was using washi tape, which I was like, this is cuter. But it got so dark in here, but like it was so bright a second ago. I think it's just gonna rain. Okay, bring some more light back in here. Anyway, so I was using washi tape for some of my small ones, but I don't know if my washi tape is just like a little, it's kind of old. I was very precious with it and didn't use it, but it kept like unsticking. So then I went to just like basic masking tape, which I have, you know, had on deck. So then I had this print, this orange one, this yellow one, yep, and then this yellow one. So all 10 by 10s all use the same size plastic. Olive's wandering around on all my things. And then I had 8.5 by 11, which I used for these 2 risograph prints. Just folded the extra over. Or maybe they didn't have 8.5 by 11, so I did 9 by 12. And then the 10 by 10 one, I did 11 by 17. Okay, I lied. I did 11 by 17, 18 by 22, and 9 by 12, and then 5 by 7 are the 4 sizes I bought. Then this risograph 2, perfect. That is in the same 9 by 12 sleeve. And then I had 5 by 7s, which I used for my small postcard ones, and those worked really nicely. These ones I started out doing everything in washi tape, and then I just felt like they were just like not sticking. For the ones that were bigger and had more plastic folded on them, I think they needed something a little more sturdier. And then these ones fit perfectly in the sleeve that I didn't need to tape anything. They're in there, and I could show you my business card. But I think I got 500 of these when I went to a printmaking conference in 2021, and I had them made. Just like, it's not going to focus, but anyway, I believe it says Liz Masterson Artist, my email, and my website, and a QR code that'll take you to my website. The back is matte, and it has just a detail shot of a print. And I put those in every single plastic sleeve, and then with every print, just so like people had that information if they wanted. I also had business cards just on the table if people wanted those. So yeah, I'm gonna show my 3 postcard designs because I finished those like the week of, and I was really happy with how they turned out. I'm really interested in this design. I'm thinking about making it bigger. That's like another note, but they turned out so cute. I have that blue one, I have this green one with purple line work, and then I have one more, this purple one. Cute. Okay, then I have my stack of them. Okay, so that is like prep work, things that I had, inventory. I had my 4 sticker designs. I don't have those in here, but I had 4 of those, and I just had those just kind of in piles on the table, and I can put like shots again of what my table looked like. And then I also printed out QR codes for I did Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. So it's like, I don't know what people use. Okay, I'm back. I figured out my microphone battery was dying. Anyway, back into things that I learned post participation in the maker market that I participated in. One thing that I learned was it was helpful to have a variety of things and a variety of like priced things. Most of my things were priced between $3 and $15, and then I did have a few things that were $40, $50, and then my large print, that was $70. So I think having a variety of pricings help people just like find something within their price range that they wanted to invest in and wanted to purchase. I think stickers are always a really great way to go. People always invest a couple bucks in a sticker. One thing that I would probably do differently, I always sign all my prints on the back. To me, I like the edition on the back. It just looks cleaner with like the edition number, the title, and my name and the year I made it. I just like think when it's on the front it's too distracting. If I had like a really big border, I think it would be fine. Like if I had a 2-inch, maybe 3-inch border, and then it's just kind of right along the edge, I think that would be helpful to have it on the front, because I think some people were getting confused with what they were looking at. Some people asked me if my screen prints were digital, which I was like, no, these are all done by hand. And then I think having the edition somewhere visible, or like even my boyfriend suggested putting the price sticker on the print of like what the edition is, even if I don't want it on the front of the print, have it on a little sticker that says 1 of 20, 1 of, 2 of 20, whatever the edition number is, and then people would see that it is, they're like, oh, what is, even if they don't know about editions in printmaking, they'd be like, oh, what does 2 of 20 mean? And I could say, oh, that's like the second print in the edition of 20. And I think that at that point, for some of my things that are priced a little higher, they would understand the price versus how many there are and how large the print is. I think that would help, because some people are just like, they'd look at it and like, oh, this is really nice, and then like, especially this big one, I had a lot of people interested in it, and then I had one person, she was looking at it, And then she was like, how much? And I was like, that one is $70 because it is a lot of work for me to be printing each, I didn't say that. I was just like, oh, it's $70. And then she just like, let me think about it. And then like she left, and I was like, okay, I think I need a system to better explain printmaking and the process involved, because that is why things are priced the way they are. And even then, I think, that will help people understand that it's not just like one layer printed out, that it is like each color is its own layer. And then like even the background, like this rectangle or the square is a flat color, then it's like the pink, and then the purple. So it's like somehow I could help visualize that. I think that would be helpful. And I think like having maybe like a little like demo print, like where it's like, here's the first layer, here's the second layer, here's the third, fourth, whatever. And then like maybe I have it a small version, and then I have like the big print, and then people are like, oh, okay, I see like how this is happening, just to educate people a little bit more on the print process. Because I think there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you did it digitally, it's just printed one time, one layer, and then it's limited edition, and that's why it is. And it's like there's a lot of labor in each step that goes into that. So I just like, I want to highlight that process. I want to highlight how the process of printmaking, and also like the affordability of like an original piece of artwork through printmaking can be. Because like honestly, like it's an original piece of artwork, and that like it is one of the originals, and then it's like, that's it. I'm not making these prints again. I have 20, I have 40, whatever the edition number is. I've been sticking to 20 recently, but so it's like there's going to be 20 of them out in the world, and that's it, So I think that would help people understand screen printing a little bit. And there are some people that are just like, oh, is this screen print? And I was like, yes. And then we talk about screen printing, we talk about printmaking, and like what, it was really nice. I chatted with some person who was a faculty member, an ex-faculty member at the university, and then they were like, oh, like they retired. And they were like, oh, I love printmaking. I have curated so many, and I was just chatting about that. They were an art historian and focusing on printmaking, so we had a nice like conversation about that. But for me, being someone who's making my prints physically, and it's not like a digital print, and so my prices reflect that it is like handmade, each layer, I feel that I need to like educate my viewers a little bit more, and like the audience and people just kind of viewing the work, why things are the way that they are and why they may cost the way that they do. Because I had these two large prints also, they were on sale for $50 because of their size and how much, like this one's an edition of 20, the other one I think is 16, because I didn't even get that many in the edition when I printed it. But I think that, what are you doing? Overall, if I were to participate in a market again, things that I would do and or change about my setup and my display, I would have piles of prints, or like a bin with different prints in there, so people can look through and kind of like spend time with the pieces. I think that will help. The more time they're like interacting with it, maybe it's like the more likely that they are going to be interested in spending money on it. I think I read somewhere, and it was about like the longer you hold on to an item in a store, the more likely you're gonna purchase it. So I feel like maybe something similar to that I can apply for like fiddling through prints, and then it's like, oh, I actually want that. Putting the edition numbers clearer on the prints, whether through like a little tag on them, or maybe it's like a little sign underneath it where it's like the price, maybe the title of the print, because I don't spend a lot of time titling my prints, but I do take time to title them creatively and have something that's like a little like unique and kind of poetic for my pieces. Like these somewhere or everywhere series, like I wanted the titles to be like a play on Somewhere Everywhere, Once in the Trees, Somewhere Everywhere on the Trees, and then Somewhere or Everywhere on in the Shadows. Is like this collection of 3 so far. So I think having the titles and like information about the edition, just like maybe it's like a little card that's like next to the if I keep them similar stacks, it's like next to them, or edition numbers on the plastic somewhere where people can see a little easier, because all the prints that I sign are written in pencil because it's archival, and that is just like standard practice with signing prints, is that it's in pencil. So I think elevating the fact that they're handmade and that there is a limited edition of them will help, and will help people understand, process, and gauge why things cost the way that they do. What else would I do? I'd have cash. I would carry some cash on me, because I don't want to turn away sales just because it's like I was mildly unprepared because I didn't think people still used cash. So having cash, maybe even just a card reader. I think investing in a card reader would be helpful, because it seems like Venmo is great. I think Venmo is really great if people want to use Venmo, but I think it's another step to like scan a QR code and then type in the amount, and like other than that I could just like type in the cost, ding, tap, whatever. I think that would streamline things a little bit and maybe make it a little easier, and just like every other transaction you've ever had ever in a store. So it's just like something we're already kind of honed into doing, and like a routine we already have. So I think that would help if I continue to do markets. I've been looking around. I don't really know where to look, but if I find some resources of like where to look for these things, I'll let you know. And then I would carry cash, show my editions, maybe mix prints so people can spend more time with them, and have, if they're in piles, again, mix prints so people can fiddle through things, because it seems like they wanted to look through. But my setup, honestly, I think was really great. I don't think there's much I would change, but I think, like as I progress, and if I keep vending, the display could definitely get better. I can invest in display racks where it's like the prints are elevated and there's like tier system or like something like that. But like right now I was pretty happy with how things turned out, and impressed with just like simple, scrappy, cheap setup, low effort. And even then I think I still made sales, which I was surprised about. I sold, my best seller was this risograph that I drew. It was from a drawing, and then I printed it out in this green color. I think I did 2 passes on the risograph, maybe 3. I think I did either yellow, green, Kelly green, and cornflower blue, I think. But people love this one. This one I sold for $15. Yes, people love that. And stickers obviously were the most popular. Stickers, $3. People loved a sticker. But I did participate in a trade. I traded a teacup for a print, because someone came up and they were like, oh, another vendor, they're like, are you interested in trading? And I said, yeah, if you want. And they traded a teacup for one of my screen prints, which I thought was really, really fun. And I would love to do trades, it's fun. But stickers and like my risograph print did really well. I think if like these postcards were out a little bit more forward, they would have done more, or just kind of like set on the table or like closer. I had them kind of towards the back, so I think if they were up front, people would have bought them. I think because they were kind of towards the back and like more things in front of them, maybe people got a little overwhelmed with like the amount of things I had just kind of like everywhere. So I think maybe even that's when like a nice tier rack would come in handy, where things are like kind of layered, where you could see you're staring in one direction, but there's like all of these things instead of like things on the table, things up here, So I think that could have helped. All in all, I was very excited about the event, and I was very impressed with the turnout. Like, it was kind of busy for couple hours. And then I did sell things, which I was like, if I sell one thing, I'd be happy. And I made some sales, and I was really, really excited. Because it's like awkward. I don't know. It's like not even awkward, but like it's difficult to put yourself out there. And then also it's like difficult to ask for money for your art. And it's not even asking for money. It's like, you can have it for this many dollars, you know. It is just like, it was definitely a learning experience, because I feel like before I would just like, I'd be like, oh, my work is in this show, it's in this gallery, and people would just look at it and see it. But now it's like, look at it, see it, do you want to purchase it? And that is where it got just like a little weird and uncomfortable for me. Just being like, kind of putting yourself out there and then putting a price tag on things, and then like taking the money from it. I had some of my friends came out to support me, and they bought a print of mine, and I felt so guilty. They're like, no, literally don't. I'm trying to support you, and I'm just like trying to. And I was like, don't give me your money. Like, it makes me feel bad. Like, I don't understand. Because they're my pals, they're my friends, you know. And it's like, I don't know. Even people in the public, and they're like, how much is this? And you say, and they're like, I don't know what you want from me. But that's what I have, and that's what I price it at, and I think that's fair. So, you know, I think it's just like, I feel like it's one of those things, the more I do it, the more I'll get used to it. But the first time was like kind of like awkward, and not even awkward, but it was just like, I don't know, I feel like I got a little anxious about things, and I felt bad, and like charging money for my things, which is like, I shouldn't feel bad about that, and you shouldn't feel bad about that either. If you're selling things of yours, or getting started selling things of yours and pricing things, do not feel bad about your pricing. All in all, it was a good time, and now I'm thinking, should I create an online store? Are people interested in online stores? I have a website that just shows my portfolio of things, and I'm like, now I have everything set up, everything's in plastic, ready to go. Are people wanting to buy things online? I don't know. Maybe I'll just put it out there and see if people are interested in any of these cutie little prints that I have. Original artworks, small editions. Okay. Thank you for listening to me yap about my first art market. Hopefully this helps you if you are interested or planning on potentially ever selling at an art market. Just remember, start small and just start a little scrappy, and you can get better. But like, hopefully these things help. If you have like directed questions, if you're like, what should I do about something like that, I can probably help. If you want to comment a question that you're like, I'm preparing for this event, first time too, don't know what to do, you can pop it in the comments, and maybe I'll try to help. I don't know if I'll have all the correct answers, but I'll try. But thank you for tuning in and watching, and hopefully this helps you find the courage maybe to start, even if it's starting small and scrappy, and just putting yourself out there for vending. If you're interested in vending or have ever thought about it, maybe this will like kind of ease your mind about all the fears you may have, and then yeah, go from there. I had a few people ask me about one of my prints. They were like, it was like one person was weird, but two people was like, what? It was this one specifically, this square print. Someone said, is that wrapping paper? And I said, no, that's screen print. And then I was like, oh, that was kind of weird. And then like another person came up and was like, is that wrapping paper? And I was like, no. Then it was like really confusing, because I was like, what do you mean? Is there something in like the craft creative world that is a 10 by 10 square folded like this that is wrapping paper? I don't know. There must be, because it was like, once was like, okay. Twice I was like, something's happening here. One, bless this. I had someone, which is like, I know there's going to be people at every market that's like, maybe they're not your audience, and that is fine. And I'm not offended at all. But it was just like, it was so interesting. She was looking at one of my risographs. She was this little old lady, and she said, it was just sitting in the thing, and then she was like, is this just like copier paper? And I said, oh, it's like cardstock. And she's like, She says, what do you do with this? I was like, how do I respond to that? How do I say, it is art? How do I explain like hanging art on your wall without being like, I don't know. I said, oh, you can just like put it in a frame and hang it up. Because like, how do you answer that? So, what do I do with this? Whatever you want, really. Whatever you want. But I thought it was funny. Just like, what do I do with that? And I was like, I don't know. But anyway, all in all, it was a good time.